Welcome to the Enterprise Excellence Podcast, where we share knowledge from global experts in how to create high-performance, agile cultures of continuous improvement and innovation. Cultures where employees wake up smiling and excited to go to work and make a difference. Cultures where leaders feel they have the time to proactively serve the growth of themselves and others.
I'm your host, Brad Jeavons, coming to you from Brisbane, Australia. By improving our organisations, we create a better future for generations to come. An economy where our children and grandchildren can experience the joy of owning their first home. An environment where they can enjoy holidays on clean beaches and marvel at the beauty of nature. A future where they feel safe, respected, and empowered to make a difference at work, bringing that energy home to their families and communities. This show is proudly brought to you by the Enterprise Excellence Community and Group, which is focused on helping organisations create this better future through this podcast, our community, where you can engage with global experts, tour best practice sites, and also our workshops focused on the most important topics to truly help your organisation improve into the future for those it serves. Visit enterpriseexcellencegroup.com.au to learn more. Welcome to episode 203 of the Enterprise Excellence Podcast. It is such a pleasure to have Mr. Chris Butterworth back on the show with us today. Chris is now the author of 4 Shingo Prize winning books, with the latest Why Care. Amazing history of writing and being awarded for this. We're looking at a topic today with Chris, which he's an expert on, which is how do you effectively lead from the front, conduct look, listen, learn activities out with customers, with employees in general. It's part of our community event, so you'll hear some of the community members ask questions also as we unpack this important topic of how do we go and look, listen and learn in every aspect we can as leaders, particularly at the front line, where it's most important to truly deliver value and create great outcomes. Let's get into the show. Hey everyone, I just want to welcome to the episode Mr. Chris Butterworth. Chris, thanks for joining the community again and sharing such an important topic on look, listen, learn activities. And everyone, I need to share that round of applause. Chris has won another Shingo Award. So yet again, how many is that, Chris?
4.
4. That's massive. I'm hoping 5 one day, mate. So I'm really hoping 5. So, but amazing outcome. You must be happy, and Stoffs must be happy, and Carolyn.
Yeah, I'm very happy. I'm very happy for all the people who helped create it. So I don't write any of these on my own, as you know. So it's always a team effort, and it's really good. And I'm really pleased about this one because it's really such an important topic in terms of psychological well-being in the workplace and respect for diversity and inclusion. And so I hope that the Shingo Award will get it out there to more people, so that more people can really understand how critical it is that we can't really have a culture of continuous improvement unless we have a good eye on psychological well-being of our people.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing. And such a great read. Like, I love the group of people that you brought together from such a diverse angle, and it really adds to creating an amazing book.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think someone has put some. I'll just mute that. I think it's Darg's actually there.
Yep.
So, Chris, with the other thing too, Chris, to mention is that we're going to talk look, listen, learn activities today, but we've also got a number of things happening out with leading excellence. I've seen you in Poland, and I've seen you all over the place. Do you mind updating on the changes that have gone on there? Because yet again, you have all sorts of boundaries being achieved and successes.
Well, yeah, it's great to see yourself and Dogs on the call. We've very proud of this book, actually, Leading Excellence. It's been described as a handbook for leadership, and it's our first audio book as well, so which we all record our own chapters on, which was fantastic. It's selling really well. It's actually been, last week I was in Poland launching the Polish translation because one of the Shingo affiliates in Poland has decided that it's exactly the kind of leadership book that's needed in Poland, and with a book launch for like 60 people. I signed 250 books, I think, while I was there last week, and it's gone down really well. I mean, it's a very, for me, I'm still trying to practice how I pronounce it in Polish, but that's the Polish version. But it's actually still full of all the same pictures, so I can understand all those bits. And it's something that I'm also now in discussions. It's just about finished, being translated into Mandarin. I've started discussions for Spanish and Portuguese, Brazilian. So
Wow.
hopefully within a year it'll be in 5 or 6 languages. So yeah, it's really quite proud of that.
Yeah,
Making a
it's well done.
difference to the way people lead. And we'll talk a little bit about some of the key messages in that book in this conversation as well.
Well, I think, and credit to Dargs too, who's on the line. I think I chose this community event, everyone, because Chris has mentored me a lot over the years. And I guess, Chris, early on in the time, we really called it, we were talking the language of Gemba, or I think at
Absolutely.
Signet we called it leading from the front, is what we called it. And then everyone, Chris educated me along with this book, Leading Excellence, around look, listen, learn activities. So the word walk is not the primary word. And I'm keen to unpack that a little bit today too, Chris, because I think there's a lot of power in that. But I've got a few questions, everyone, and please think of your own questions as we go forward, and we'll raise them. So everyone, we're going to use a formula that Chris also has in the Leading Excellence book, which is a great way to unpack any system. And it covers purpose, ideal behaviors, key behavior indicators, and then the system itself. It's just a great way to look at it. So, Chris, let's go through that, mate. What is the purpose of look, listen, learn activities?
Great question. So I'd like just before I go into that purpose, I'd like to background that with why I think Gemba's not a good word to use. And that is because, one, it's a Japanese word, and it actually just means point of activity, it's literally translated. I think it's a word that's bandied around a lot without people fully understanding what it is and what the purpose of it is. And I admit I did the same many years ago when I first heard it, and I said, right, it's about getting out on the shop floor. Well, in a way it is. But like many things in improvement, it's not what we do, it's how we do it that's important. So we can go out on the shop floor and create chaos, or we can go out on the shop floor and add real value. And so for me, the purpose, genuinely the purpose of look, listen, and learn is to learn. It is to learn lots of different things. So just as there's lots of things around, if you go again, but be clear on purpose. This is exactly the same. The start point for any of these activities is to be clear on my purpose in this particular activity. And there might be lots of different purposes. So for example, we might have a purpose that says, I want to understand how well my people are connecting to the organization purpose. How well do they understand it? Because, as we highlight in Y-Care and Leading Excellence, the average level of engagement around the world at the moment is around 25% in the work. I was told last week, for example, it's lower in many other countries. At the moment in Poland, it's 17%. Well, you just think that's massive waste of potential. But 3 key things impact on that engagement. These are not always in the same order for everybody, but these 3 things are always in the top 10. One of them is, do people feel a connection of their purpose to the organizational purpose? Do they feel valued? Can they see how what they do contributes to what the organization is trying to do? Does it make a difference? That's one. The second one is the quality of the relationship which people have with their direct boss. Do I feel valued by my boss? Do they care about me? Do they respect me? And the third one is the organization interested in my learning and development? Do I get opportunities to grow and develop? So those, you think, why is it? It's not really that hard to get the engagement levels up from 25%. If those 3 things are the things that have the biggest impact on people, why can't we start with those? And that's one of the key ways to do that, is to think about look, listen, and learn activities, because they allow us to address all of those three things. So we go to, so a purpose might be, I want to understand levels of engagement. It might be I want to check on a specific opportunity or issue that's in place. Might be I want to understand and explore why something is not working as I thought it should. I might want to explore behaviours, have people connected to the behaviours in the organisation that we expect to see. But really critical, and I'll talk about this in a bit more detail, to do this effectively is the mindset in which we approach these things. So we, traditionally, when I first came across Gemba and doing things, I had in my head that I was going to check on stuff. And that's still the way it's thought of now. I'm going to go and check, is that working? I'm going to check, is that working? So it's an important part of a plan, do, check, act cycle. But what I've come to realize is, what am I really checking? What should I be checking? And look, listen, and learn, really, I call it the look in the mirror opportunity. Because what I'm really, if I think deeply about this, what I really should be checking is myself. Have I done a good job providing these people with a system that helps them to do a great job? Or have I given them a system that makes it really hard to do a great job? If people can't tell me how they connect to the purpose, that should tell me my system for deploying the purpose hasn't worked for everybody. So every question is seeking understanding more than checking. It's seeking understanding, have I done a good job, or how could I do an even better job? And that for me was a big aha moment. Because they don't create the systems. I might not create the systems. It might be managers who work for me who create the systems, but I ultimately am accountable for making sure that those systems help people to do a good job. And just clarify this, by systems, I don't mean IT systems. I mean the processes in the organization. So
I love that.
it's, yeah, sorry, Brad.
I love that, Chris, because I guess we all know that, the systems or the key critical processes of business will impact culture and performance dramatically. And then the piece of look, of course, listen and learn, but look in the mirror and really, first of all, reflect, well, what part am I playing and what's working well or what's not working well?
Absolutely. So that I think that you asked me to start with purpose. That I think is the purpose. What is working well? What isn't working well? What do I need to do about it? And the important thing also is that we tend to be, we're all a bit focused on the negative too much, in my view, in terms of what's not working, because these activities are also an important opportunity to celebrate what is working, to give recognition for stuff that people are doing. If when I do assessments, one of the things I always pick up is if someone's been recognized by a senior leader, they never forget. They're always proud of it and say, "Oh, well, such and such a body came down and said I'd done a great job. It made my day," And we underestimate the power of that. So look, listen, and learn is also about reinforcing the positives, not just trying to find out what's not working.
Yeah, Chris, I've just been doing a review at Golden Cockerel, and the CEO there, Dennis Stark, he's out with the team, particularly at every level, but he's particularly out the front line a lot. And boy, the cultural reverence, like the respect that. But like from your view, Chris, I love how you use the word activity, because this could be going out to customers, it could be a one-on-one, it could be anywhere. But why? Do you mind explaining your view on activity, not just walking the front line, but also why is it important that we get to the front line?
I think the reason I'm trying to kind of move away from just saying Gemba walk is because when we do that, we kind of focus on the activity of walking and going out there, and I think it loses the emphasis on its real purpose. The purpose is not to go for a walk. Okay, so the purpose is to look, listen, and learn, and we can do that by going do exactly that same approach in our one-on-one discussions, in our meetings. So when we have a meeting, are we look, listening, and learning how effective it is, what's being said, what kind of conversations are taking place, what do I need to do to help? So I think it's a bit broader than just doing a walk, and that's why I've kind of said, well, it's activities, because this mindset of curiosity applies to everything that we do, and it should be something that we can build as a habit that we do pretty much all the time, rather than just say, right, once a week I'm going to do a walk on the shop floor.
Yeah, it's too true. It's too true. And Chris, the one question I got is when a look, listen, learn activity is done well, what are the ideal behaviors you see exuding from the person doing the walk, but also the people who engage with that person?
Yeah, no, great question. So think about, and I think this is really important in terms of how we go about these things. And I'm very passionate about the plan, do, check, adjust model, and I think that works for everything that we do, really. And I know a few people apply that to the personal life as well. But if we think about doing a look, listen, and learn activity, then let's plan it. Plan it would be what I want to know about, what am I curious about, where am I going to go? So a bit of plan. So when you come to the do, this is picking up on your question, Brad. How am I going to behave? So underlying the mindset that I went to these conversations with has to be curiosity. Yeah? I cannot go in there assuming I know the answer. The only assumption I should make is I don't know. Because if we don't do that, we're not going to learn. If we already know the answer, we're not listening. We're just thinking about what I'm going to say and to counter any other argument. So that brings me on to the other key behavior is listening. So active listening is critical in these kind of conversations. And it's a rough rule of thumb, but you should be doing less talking and more listening, right? So you want to, if you are doing the majority of talking, you're not doing a look, listen, and learn activity. You're telling people, right? You're explaining to it, right? But so you need to be curious, and you need to have active listening. Now, active listening in itself is a form of recognition and helps to boost engagement. You might think, oh, what do you mean? So just pause for a moment and ask yourself, how did you feel the last time you realized someone was really listening to you? Did it have an impact? For most people, it's kind of, oh, that's nice. Feel a bit valued about it, so I'm actually curious. Now, if a senior leader actively listens to you, that's really powerful. So you're changing the quality of the relationship by listening. Now, the other, so curiosity, listening, there are the Shingo cultural enabled principles are also critical here. So lead with humility. Now, again, humility, I've already mentioned one important aspect of humility, which is I don't assume I know all the answers. But also humble leaders have more chance of understanding what's really happening. They have people that are willing to contribute because they know that the leaders are genuinely interested in what they've got to say and interested in the ideas that they've got. Your lack of humility means that leaders are often overburdened trying to do everyone else's job. So it's this very important aspect of it. And the other element is respect every individual. So, many organizations have respect as a value or a principle. I realized the wording is really important on the Shingo principle because it says every individual. So essentially what that's really saying is I've got to think of people as people, not as a payroll number or not as the job they do. Because everybody is bigger than the job they do, have huge untapped potential. So these are important ways of thinking if we're going to have really powerful conversations in this way. So humility, respect, curiosity. And then we think about that plan, do, check, act cycle. The check is the reflection. What did I learn? Not only what did I learn in terms of, is there improvements I need to do to the way I'm doing something or the way a particular system's working because it's not driving the behavior I would want, or that's an important part of the reflection. But the other important part of the reflection is, what did I learn in terms of how I could do this better next time? So one organization I know in Lithuania who won the Shingo Prize in 2019, they have one of the best systems that I know in this area, and one because they're all scientists and they've constantly refined it through a plan, do, check, adjust cycle, and I think they're on the 5th or even 6th iteration of the leader standard work system at the moment, and they have that built in as a standard that leaders get together on a regular basis and discuss those two questions. What did we learn on the activities? What did we learn about how we do a better activity next time? And they do some peer coaching on it, how they can improve. Oh, I tried this. Oh, that's interesting. I'll try that next time. So those, we talk about the importance of leaders spending time working on culture. And in Shingo Prize winning organizations, it's 60 to 70% of the time is working on culture. Well, look, listen, learn activities are all working on culture. The leaders getting together at that company I mentioned, discussing how we do better activities, is working on the culture. So what Edgar Schein said, the only thing that leaders do that's important is to define and manage culture. If you don't do that, it manages you, and you're not aware to the extent that it is happening. Now, we think about that quote a bit more. The only thing that leaders do is manage culture. What's one of the key things that can go and manage culture is go and look, listen, and learn. If you're not aware, if you don't do that, you're not aware to the extent that it's happening. How do I know whether culture's I'm managing it or it's managing itself? I go and find out. So this is why it's really powerful approach to really understanding how well everything is working in the organization.
Because I guess, Chris, the alternate that is quite typical is that leaders are getting filtered information that can alter various times as it goes up through the layers. That's the alternative, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, you might get told what people want you to think you want to hear. So this is really powerful, for example, not even to do on your own. You can, but you're practicing on, but take aspiring leader with you when you do these things. Teach people how to lead in the way, what's the standard of the way we do these things in our organization. So that it's not, because no leader can be everywhere all the time. And the successful organizations have got to the point where behaviors are not managed just by leaders. They're actually managed at peer level because everyone's clear on what the expectations are and they hold each other accountable. And that's where you start getting culture being embedded, where it's not dependent on a few leaders who have to keep doing it all the time.
Yeah.
How to build that, it's not the only thing, but look, listen, and learn activities are a key tool to help to build that.
Because I think in the book Leading Excellence, we had that case study of Woods Group. I don't know if someone from Woods is online today, but I know that all the leaders of Woods, they're out there every day, leading and coaching and learning about their culture because they've defined their ideal behaviors involving everyone. So everyone in the company was involved in defining those. And then they're really starting to get that place now that everyone's a leader, which is really cool, like you mentioned.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So you asked about behaviors. So there's some other, I think, key behaviors. So I mentioned recognition. I didn't mention kindness. No, that might seem an odd one to call that, but some research by McKinsey over the last couple of years it talks about the power of kindness in the workplace. And we started off the conversation talking about why care and psychological well-being, and kindness is incredibly powerful. And when it's not just a soft thing to do. It's in leading excellence. One of the hats we talk about is the support hat. Kindness is a key element of the support hat. It's big impact. If people think you care, then they will care.
Very true.
Coaching. So you look at all the 5 hats in leading excellence: coaching, support, inspire, teach, direct, look, listen, and learn activities. When you would apply, not all in the same conversation, but all those hats would be applied in look, listen, and learn activities.
So the concepts written about on the 5 hats of the adaptive leader and how to be an adaptive leader who serves the growth of others is a really key aspect of understanding in line with look, listen, learn activities.
Yes. It's your opportunity to apply them. It's not the only opportunity, but it's a big opportunity to apply those different hats.
Chris, with the next part of it, where you've got these ideal behaviors which you can really lean into and build capability on to help, like you mentioned, it's basically you're leading and managing and growing your culture and performance with it, right? Ideal results. What are some of the KBIs or key behavioral indicators that you've seen teams really lean into to start to measure and track, are we getting better here? Are we more effective?
So it's KBIs the more I learn about it, the more I try them, the more powerful I understand they are. So you can't. People will often ask me that question. They'll say, "Tell me what good KBIs are," and I can't. I will give you some examples, but I would caution you not to start there. Right. So you never start with a KBI. Key behavioral indicator is a measure of a behavior. So you have to start with defining what is the behavior I want to have in place, and then how might I measure it? So it's a 2-part question, really. Operations people, as my background is, we want to measure everything into a number with a trend chart on it and put targets against it. Well, KBIs are not always like that. A KBI might simply be, is it red or green? Because people sometimes struggle to measure behavior because we try and turn it into a KPI, but we don't have to. We just want an indicator. Is that behavior in place or not? So, sorry, Brad.
I can see it could, even that simple form, like you said, like red or green or 1 out of 5. To me, it helps that reflection, doesn't it, Chris? Like that check, that key aspect of the check also, even though the measure's not 100% accurate, it just helps prompt reflection, doesn't it?
I think that's absolutely right, and it's not necessarily about complete accuracy on KBIs. So that might sound a bit strange, but it's about is a KBI driving us to discuss the behaviours? Are we having conversations about behaviours? And if we are, then that KPI is still useful. Yeah. So KPIs are the results. The first thing is ideal results require ideal behaviors. But I've got to be clear on what the results are that I want before I can start thinking about my behaviors. It goes right back to purpose, results and purpose. So KPIs are critical. I'm not for any moment saying don't use KPIs. They tell us they're the measure of what we want to achieve. But they're always lagging. I only find out whether I've achieved it or not when it's a bit late. But I still need to know what I'm going for, and I still need to track them. KBIs are one of the most powerful lead indicators that we can use. Because if we genuinely believe that if I want ideal results, we need ideal behaviors, I should be measuring behaviors because they're the inputs to getting my results. So, and they'll improve all the time. So I'm increasingly understanding deeper what we mean by ideal results, because ideal results is closely linked to the principle of seeking perfection. So ideals should be an aspiration that we're trying to get to. And we might probably, like perfection, might never achieve it, but we're constantly striving to get to it. So that means we're getting this improvement mindset in place. We're constantly trying to improve. And if we're constantly trying to improve what our view of an ideal result is, we also need to be constantly improving what our view of an ideal behavior is to get that result. So KPIs will change. KPIs can be put in very briefly to achieve a short-term, address a short-term issue or challenge. You know, several organizations I know, for example, struggle to get people to turn up on time to huddle meetings, and it's meant to be a 15-minute meeting. If you're late, it's a problem. So lots of different ways of kind of putting measures in place. Look, the stories, a few of you might have heard this before. It's a really true story. It made a big impact on me. The team who put everyone's list of names who should be there at the meeting. And if you're late for the meeting, they put a cross against the name. They agreed as a team that if you were late every time you were late, you got a cross. If you got 3 crosses, you had to buy everybody in the team a cake. Right? 2 people had to buy the team a cake, and then no one was late again for meetings, so they stopped measuring it. Mm. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to work everywhere. The point is that they define that for themselves. You know, they worked out what would work for them. But the measure only needed to be in place for 3 months, and then it was fixed so that they could change the KPI to something else. So that's a very tactical level KPI.
Yeah.
But I think that that's the power of these things, because what we also need to do as leaders is to be prepared to let go and not try to micromanage KPIs across the organization. We make very clear what the expectations are on behaviors. And if teams want to come up with stuff that helps them to measure that behavior in their team, then fantastic. I will use look, listen, and learn to make sure that it's okay and it's not driving the wrong behaviors and ask questions or anything. But I want to give them as much freedom as possible. Now, if I come back to my role as a leader, some KPIs around that. One that I find increasingly powerful is if I look at the leadership team meeting, what percentage of the time of the leadership team agenda is actually spent talking about people and culture? And I don't mean like negative things around who we're going to sack this week. It's more around people and culture of what are we doing in terms of our behaviors? What's our development plans? What leaders are we developing? And what's our talent acquisition process? All that kind of stuff that's impacting the culture and behavior. Is it 10% of our meeting at the end of the discussion, and we often don't get a chance to talk about it, or is it actually a key part of the conversation? Now, some teams I know have now actually split out a separate meeting on people and culture, because when they try to do operations at the same time, the people and culture bit always gets squeezed out. But other people say, when I say, look at your agenda and what are your, how much time you're spending on culture, the answer back does range from, well, it'd be good to have an agenda. Is this at one level to, yeah, okay, let's actually think about, are we spending our time as leaders talking about the right things? I mean, many years ago, I was sitting on a board level conversation at an engineering business, and they spent half the meeting talking about why a machine had broken down and how the engineer had fitted the wrong size of bolt in the equipment on the previous. And went, guys, you are running a multi-billion-dollar business here. What the hell are you doing talking about that? Yeah. So what we need to say is, are we having the right conversations? The KPI would be, what percentage of our time are we spending in the management team meeting talking about it? And you don't have to put you can go to an exact percentage number. Actually, let's start with making it more than we are now. And are we spending that time? So, it's actually quite easy to do. Put times on the agenda and then monitor, did we do it or not? Yes or no? And then reflect. If we didn't, why not? What do we need to change to do that? Another simple one is to agree what are the behaviors you want to exhibit amongst each other at leadership team meetings. I don't have a long list, but just agree, 4 or 5 key things. We'd like to show respect to each other. We'd like to show recognition and encouragement. And then at the end of the meeting, say, okay, how do we do? Those are our behaviors. How did we do in this meeting? Red or green? Why? Because what we're doing then is changing how we think about what's important. And it will be a bit clunky the first time you do it, but it's incredibly powerful because it then, when you do that, you will do look, listen, and learn activities differently. You will change what you focus on in your time, moving from firefighting to managing culture.
It's really, really good, Chris. And I guess too, the shadow that that senior leadership team or any leadership team casts is so powerful. So if they can improve there, it's going to create a dramatic improvement across the whole area they touch.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Mm. Chris, we've looked at the purpose, we've looked at the ideal behaviours, we've mentioned about some of the ways we can implement KBIs to start to reflect and learn and improve. What are some of the key system elements that you've seen with look, listen, learn activities and as organisations work to get better at them?
So, we could call it the leader standard work system, for example. Have we got a leader standard work system? Do we actually plan how to allocate our time to different things? There's lots of different tools we can use within that broader system. So some people find WILOs very effective, a week in the life of, as a way of saying, actually, I want to be, this is how I should be spending my time. Am I spending my time in this way? I'm not an advocate of kind of micromanaging leaders and putting them in a straitjacket and saying you must, accounting for every single minute of the day. I don't think leadership's like that. But I am an advocate for having some standard that I should hold myself accountable to, and which says I actually want to be spending X% of my time on these activities, and I should have a way of monitoring that. So we can do a very high level weekly plan, for example. And protect some time. So reflection time is really important. Reflection time is also about working on, for me, it's part of working on people and culture. Because I'm working on myself when I'm doing reflection time. So I think that would be one thing, is to have a standard of how I want to allocate my time and hold myself accountable to that standard. Part of that will also mean that you've got to make decisions about what am I not going to do, or who am I going to give other stuff to, so that what am I going to delegate to create more time for me to do the things I should be working on. That's all part of that system. Another part of that system is making it visual. Lots of different ways of doing that, but for example, we've got one or two prize winners I can think of. They'll have a kind of visual board on the wall, probably visible to everybody, which says, these are my planned look, listen, and learn activities for the next week. And one of them I know in particular looks really powerful, has an old T card system. Remember those from years and years ago? You're clocking in old T card clocking in systems. The cards are color coded, red and green. So it starts off with beginning of the week, everything's in red because I've not done my activities yet. As I do them, I turn it around in the green. Visual accountability. Have I done the things I've said I'm going to do? Where is it? It's on display in the canteen for everyone to see it. That's a KBI, actually. It's a visual KBI, but it's also a key aid to that system.
I got to admit, Chris, like everyone, Chris has been doing some coaching for me, right? So I believe we all need a coach, right? So Chris has been amazing. One of the first things Chris got me back on the bus with is my standard work, and also that measure there is me reflecting on it. So, and Chris, I tell you, it was dramatic. It just helped me get back into gear so much. And it's like you said, it's because it makes you think, makes you think about time and how you're using it. And time's the only thing in this world we can't get back. So, yeah, thank you.
No, I think it's a simple thing to do, but very impactful. I mean, think about the hats in the Lean Excellence book. We have 5 hats. One of the exercises in there is to do self-reflection on the hats. So it ranges from, do I need to go and buy that hat, to I'm really level 5. I'm kind of really good at that hat, and I can coach others in it. Now, again, for me, that's a key element of this whole system in terms of developing my skills. It might not be the hats you could use, but this is an example of what skills do I need to develop to be a better leader, to get better at look, listen, and learn activities. So some kind of a self-assessment is very powerful. Now, I think there's an even more powerful level, and that's a 360. And I actually witnessed this last week. So we're presenting on the book. I was doing a workshop on the book, and the leader of the team, when we put the self-assessment up as exercise as part of the workshop, the leader of the team says, "Can we do two?" I said, "Okay, what do you mean?" He said, "I want everyone now in the room to do one on me. I want the view of everyone in the room about how they see me in skill level on these hats, because I might not be right. I might not know. I might have a different view." Oh, wow! What sense of humility is demonstrated by that? But again, that's really powerful. So lots of examples there. I hope they help.
It's brilliant, Chris. And everyone, I think it's chapter 9 in the audio book too. You can listen through. I think, Chris, I know you and I have known each other a while now, and I know how much you've researched and developed and grown in this area, and where it's culminating now with Look, Listen, Learn is amazing, especially when we all know how critical culture is. Even too when we go, oh, we want greater performance. It's like, yeah, okay, well, what is the system and the ideal behaviors in the system around performance, right? And let's go do look, listen, learn around that, and then look at, like you said, look in the mirror. It all applies. It all connects back. So, team, who's got a burning question here for Chris on leading culture? Look, listen, learn, KBIs, the whole way this can pull together to really allow you to lead culture in a really powerful way.
Afternoon, Brad. Good
Hey,
day,
David.
Chris. Chris, awesome. Thank you for your presentation today. It's been brilliant. One of the questions I have is around look, listen, and learn activities. If you don't take the action afterward from the learning, because it's one of those things where when you're asking for the feedback and you're asking for information and you're watching, there will also be people that will be watching the leader to know that they would then be expecting something to be done from that. Have you got any insights or any experiences of when you do take action, how you then go back to the team to get maximum impact so that they keep talking on your future visits and walks?
Really, really good point, Dave. Thank you for raising that, because I forgot to finish the cycle, didn't I? So I talked about plan, do, check, and we didn't talk about act and adjust. So, and that's a key element of what you're picking up there is I've got to do something. I can't just go and talk to people and listen. I am having an impact just by listening, I will say that, but there might be things that are resolvable in the conversation, for example, because some of that, one of the key things is that you don't want to take everything away. You don't want to go around. These are not opportunities to go and collect even more problems to sort out, because I'm already very busy. Right? So part of the conversation about look, listen, and learn is to help people to develop, to think for themselves. So you might just be guiding them in what they need to do. So one aspect of what you're talking about might be, we agree an action plan, but it's not my action, it's theirs. And what I say to them is, okay, that's really good. Tell me one thing that you could do that might make it better. I'll do that. When might you be able to do that by then? Okay, can I come back and talk to you then to see how it went? So you're building in an expectation of follow-up into the conversation. So that's one aspect. There will be, so I wanted to mention that because I think it's really important that we have a mindset that says, I'm not going out there to fix everything for everybody. I am going out there to grow people so they can fix it for themselves, but also some things I might need to take away. There'll be some things that they cannot do. That's fine. So what I should do with those things is make a commitment and set an expectation. There'll be even some things some things might be so difficult, and I know they're really difficult, and they might have been worked on before, and it's going to take months to sort out, then I should just be honest about it. Not very often, but there will be. I'll say, oh, you know, that is a really, really challenge for us. We've got legislation that won't let us do that or whatever, but we are looking at it. I will promise to keep you regularly updated on that one. It's important just to make sure there's something that we're saying. But on others, we might say, okay, I'm going to go away and have a think about that because I haven't got an immediate answer, but I will come back in X and talk about it. So what you're doing is two things there. You're showing your interest, but you're also putting something in place which holds you accountable because you've committed to do something. And this is where I think we need to be, where does this time coming in, spending time on culture? Well, all of that does take a bit of time. It actually is well worth doing because it reduces the amount of time I've got to spend dealing with crap, basically, because a lot of our time is spent sorting issues out which shouldn't be there because we haven't been proactive in managing the culture in the first place. So, but if I come back, I write down what have I agreed to do. I know a couple of leaders who actually have a visual management action board about things they've learned on these activities, and it's on the wall. These are the things that I've picked up. You don't have to go this level. I know someone who has a plan, do, check, act profile of the activities that they're working on. I'm still in planning on that one. I'm still in this. And they even share that with people. So, yeah, I know that was important, but this is the list. It's on the list. I can't do everything at once.
Chris,
So I think
I've seen. Oh,
Thanks, Chris.
sorry, Chris. I've seen another one too recently, Chris, where leaders are using a system like Microsoft To Do or Asana, and they can basically straight away log smart activities straight into their phone, which is, you know, I guess it's using tech. You know, you get on your phone like To Do or you get Asana. Yeah.
Or even just talk to your phone and tell it, record it.
Yeah, that's it.
So some way, really good question, David, some way to remind us in this very busy world when we've got 3,000 things that might be going on, what have I committed to do? And making that visible. Does that help?
Very much so, and because it's something that in my experience, if you follow through with your team, the level of respect and that you showing them for speaking up and then supporting them with their feedback, it just creates that environment that people want to continue to speak up. But the danger when you don't do something, and you know, and obviously leaders would have been doing look, listen, and learn without knowing that it's look, listen, and learn. And I think that's the beauty of giving it a name. And when you were talking, I was thinking, what's the name for what you call when you do it post? And now that just completes that cycle. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Welcome. Great question.
Team, next question on any topic. I think I was talking to Ken Schneider, the CEO of Shingo Institute this morning, and he mentioned I don't mind, hope you don't mind me saying, Chris, but he mentioned no one in this world is better at transforming companies from a low level of maturity of excellence up to high than Chris. So really now's the chance to ask questions on trying to, because a lot of people,
lots of people can do that.
It's still coming from Ken, mate. It's a big advocacy, and I know, because you go from low maturity to get to high maturity. Look, listen, learn plays a big part. But what questions have you got, everyone, on this topic? And Trevor, too, I'll be keen from yourself, mate, because Trevor, you've got this happening, the bottom up. So I'd be keen to hear your level of question on this one. Chris, you off?
I think maybe, thanks, Brad. Chris, the question's kind of like around the balance when you're walking between holding people to account and look, listen, learn. Because as a manager, when you're going for the look, listen, learn, to some extent, there is the check. There is an expectation that this must be to that standard. And you know, that's, you've got to drive results, you've got to drive performance, as well as building engagement. So how do you balance those off?
Well, that's a really good question. So I'm not suggesting that we don't drive performance. What I'm suggesting is there might be a slightly different way of driving performance. Right? So for most people, what's important to their boss is important to them. Okay, so what the questions that we ask on these activities will demonstrate what's important to us. Now, if we have a conversation around the results that we're looking for, then that people will get that they're important. Okay, but they might not get how to, if they're not achieving them, there might be something stopping them achieving them. So what I want to know is, I make it clear what we're trying to achieve, but I want to know what's stopping them achieving it. What help do they need from me to help achieve that? Because just telling them and reminding them that's the result is not necessarily going to help them. So one brilliant question I like to use is, okay, is there anything that's frustrating you in not being able to achieve that result? Right. And it's amazing what comes out. If I say to people, what do you think we can improve? I get a wall of silence. If I say to people, is anything you find frustrating in trying to achieve that? Oh, yes. This never comes on time, all right? This machine's always breaking down, all right? Wow, all this information that's critical for me to know, I hear about. So I think that is a really good point. We're not doing this just because it's a nice thing to do. We're doing it because we have to achieve those outputs. How we achieve those outputs is what's important.
It's a good point, Trevor and Chris, because I see a lot of companies now that I come across where it's sort of like we've lost sight of, it's about getting ideal results, and I see people doing projects for the sake of projects and change for the sake of change, but it's not actually getting an ideal result. And it's like, no, guys, it's about getting the ideal result, but what do we do to get the ideal result? Guys, we're coming to the end. Like, we got the last 5 minutes. I just want to first of all say, Chris, thank you. I think even though I wrote the book with you and Dargs, I've learned again today. So I appreciate it.
Every time I do these, as the questions also help me to learn.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm sure everyone's gained a heap. It's such an important system. Thanks again, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers all. Bye. What a great episode. You can go to the Enterprise Excellence Podcast website to get hold of a Look, Listen, Learn guide that we've kindly been provided by Chris. There were 2 key takeaways for me from this episode. The first was the importance of curiosity when you go to Look, Listen, Learn engagements, and the power of those wordings on how you go about it. Go and look, ask great open questions, listen and learn, and be humble and really learn about what you're hearing and what you're seeing. Just an amazing approach, particularly when you consider it's at the most important aspects of an organisation, which can be any level, but it's particularly at the front line where we create value for customers and out with customers, where we basically win or lose as an organisation. The other key takeaway for me is that then once you do learn, it's like, what do you do with that? And like Chris mentions, it's often about looking in the mirror and going, well, okay, so what do I need to do differently to be able to help get better outcomes culturally and performance-wise? Brilliant episode again, Chris. Thanks for sharing your knowledge and helping us create a better future, mate. Bye for now.